Welcome, everybody. It is another episode of the Grail, episode number 32 on this Thursday, June 17th, blazing hot in Los Angeles. I am happy that you have joined me, and I want to say thank you to everybody for the 232 reviews so far on iTunes for the Grail. It really helps. And also, thank you for joining on to the YouTube and subscribing. Thank you so much, kind friends. Thank you. Great guest today. It's going to be a lot of watch talk right here with former brand ambassador Russell Kelly of Tudor Watches. He is now over at Hodinkee, and I did this interview a while ago back in New York City at the Black Box compound of Rolex. And man, I got to see some very cool stuff. And I love Tudor. These days, I really love Tudor. I really love Omega. I love what they're doing, constantly coming up with new product and keeping it in a very, very cool price point. And in this weird landscape of what's happening with Rolex and Patek and AP and everything, I think that the trend is going to be Tudor and Omega for many years to come because people can afford it. They can, for the most part, walk into a boutique and get one and enjoy collecting watches without the frustration of, damn, they're 5 times the price and I don't know how to get one and all that. I like all kinds of watches. I really do. I really like some of the Casios and Seikos and some of that stuff. But Tudor and Omega have been just hitting home runs. And it was great to talk to Russell. And I haven't seen him in a while, of course, because since he went to Hodinkee, I have no idea what's happening with him now. But it was an honor to talk to him. I want to just give you a quick rundown real quick. Tour dates are happening, DeanDelRey.com, Cleveland, Fort Worth, Texas, and Sacramento Punchline. Tickets are available, DeanDelRey.com. Come out and see me. That's why I do the podcast, to put butts in the seats and make people aware that I do comedy. So come on out. And also the Patreon.com/DeanDelRey for all kinds of bonus episodes and Zoom Fest. Each week I meet with the fans and we do a little Zoom action on the weekend. It's great. So check those out. And I just want to thank you all for your support for CactusRadioNetwork.com. Dark Fonzie episode will be out tomorrow, I think it's 4. So we're working on Dark Fonzie, At Home with Byron Katie, The Grail, and Let There Be Talk. Non-stop content for you guys. And I thank you so much for taking the ride. Let's get into it right now. Here we go. It is former brand ambassador of Tudor, Mr. Russell Kelly.
I'm Russell Kelly. I'm the brand manager in charge of TUDOR Watch U.S.A. And so lucky enough to be here with Dean. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Oh yeah, what an amazing thing. First of all, my obsession with watches is pretty insane. I always do a Basil World episode with my boy Kevin Christie.
I saw
we
that.
love watches. Butch Walker and I hit it off, and a lot of people I hit off with over watches over the years. I can see they're wearing something. I've had watches, had to sell them when you're an artist, and then bought some watches again. They come and go from my life.
Yep.
But one of the things that I loved about Tudor right away, they started releasing these, which I think is the most incredible thing ever. Basically, watches from like their past that we all loved. Now, before we get into that, what is the history of Tudor? Now, it was always the sister company of Rolex?
Yeah, it was always the sister company. So Rolex, founded in the early 1900s by Hans Wilsdorf. Tudor came along not that long after, 1926. Hans Wilsdorf had the idea to create a lesser priced watch that he could offer a wider variety of customers but from the same partner you could trust, so that it was always backed by the Rolex Service Network. It was using the same Oyster case, waterproof case.
Same movement?
A different movement. And so
I
that's
gotcha.
that's where he saved the money.
I always thought it was a Rolex movement, just different face.
No, he used from the beginning, from the 40s on. It was a ETA. An ETA caliber, ETA movement.
So it was
purchase.
always ETA back then, even
Yeah.
those old snowflakes and everything.
Yeah.
But you were using Rolex cases.
Cases, bracelets, pushers, crowns. It was basically a Rolex case, bracelet, etc., with Tudor dial, Tudor hands, Tudor movement, or ETA movement.
And what year was that?
So really 1946. So 26, Hans Wilsdorf registers the name and establishes the company, but waits to really start distribution of the brand until post-World War II, rebuilding 1946 is when he really starts pushing it out there.
That's insane, man. It's funny because I don't really know about Tudor until probably around the 90s. A buddy of mine showed up with the blue-faced snowflake. Yeah. I was like, whoa, what is that? And he's like, oh, these are made by Rolex. It's just their sister company. I was like, I don't know anything about that, you know? And you got to think back, even in the 70s, I think a GMT was like $250.
Right.
So what was like a Tudor at the time? Like $100?
It would be, 100. But even in the 60s, I would say let's go as far back as the 60s. So in the 60s, a Tudor sub was like $250, and maybe a Rolex sub was twice that.
I got it.
But it was a substantially less expensive watch. But like you said, it was very accurate to say made by Rolex, because it said on the case Rolex Geneva. On the crown, it had the Rolex crown. Stamped on the bracelet, it had Rolex Geneva. And the only thing that said Tudor was the dial.
Wow.
And if you opened it up, of course, the movement said Tudor. So.
And it's interesting because if people go like, oh, I don't know about the ETA movement and all that and stuff, like Rolex, I mean, they didn't even make the Daytona movement until like 6 to 8 years ago or whatever. It was Zenith, and before that it was other people. Yeah. So they've used outside movements before.
Certainly, yeah. I think ETA is a extremely, extremely good workhorse movement. Tons of watch brands use it, from the IWCs and Breitlings, et cetera, of the world. There are plenty of watch brands that use ETA. And for us, it's a way, to develop an in-house movement. It takes a long time, and it's really expensive. And so we focus on Tudor, even still today. Same idea when Hans Wilsdorf launched it, on making an approachably priced 100% Swiss-made watch. So the best watch you can get at a modest price, or relatively modest price.
Absolutely. And just, it just knocking it out of the park. Now, there's a time where Rolex, Tudor is rolling, and then they disappear from America. What happens there?
So the last time Tudor was in the United States was 1996. It was launched in 1996. And it was a period of time where the brand had some interesting models, still very much in the shadow of Rolex, very much kind of lookalikes, to say that, poor man's Rolex, as they were called back then.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And so it was really, when the brand was launched in 1996, it was handled, maybe it's not the right way. Let's say that it felt like it was more of a tax on Rolex.
In 96?
In 96.
But when does it disappear the first time?
The first time, so long ago, I don't even know.
So they go out of business the first time or something, or what happens?
No, never gone out of business. So the brand's always been continuous since 1946. There's been no closing the doors, always producing watches, and always a very healthy business. The way Rolex as a company is set up, it's an affiliate business model. So here in the U.S., Rolex Watch U.S.A., Tudor Watch U.S.A., we're a separate company from our headquarters in Geneva. It's really our choice. It's our choice if we want to build Tudor in the U.S. or if we want to concentrate on Rolex. So it comes with the changing of the guard, right? So the CEO comes in, and maybe one believes in Tudor and puts it in, and another one comes in after him and takes it out.
Oh, gotcha.
So it's really it's choice. But now we're at a point we launched in 2013. I started in 2012 developing the strategy, and we're at a point now where the price category is so relevant today. A lower price watch, high quality watch, is so relevant, and Rolex as a company has to think about succession for their customers are getting older, and it's not to say all their customers.
It's a lot like Harley Davidson. It's a lot like Harley Davidson. You know, I love this show because I like to have the people on, and from an outside world, I'm always like, why wouldn't they do this? And I always ask that over and over. And when Tudor came out, I was like, wow, these guys are so smart. They're doing something that the other people never do. Mine the past. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand, like, let's say Harley Davidson, which I love and ride, they made a 1936 knuckle. Yeah. Why not make it again with modern stuff? You know what I mean? That's your history. And sure, have the other models, but hey, if you want to buy this, we have this. Exactly. And that's what Tudor did when they first come out, and also their genius in being all over the place all of a sudden, you know?
Yeah.
But when they come out, immediately go, well, that's exact to a 60s Tudor. Mm-hmm. That's what everybody wants. But they don't want to spend $8,000 on a snowflake. You know what I mean?
And the idea was, remember the original mission statement: from a partner you can trust, a product you can trust. It's like the vintage look and feel without the vintage headache, is what I always say. And, it's tricky. Buying vintage is tricky.
It really is, especially now with all the fake stuff.
Yeah.
It's the scariest. And as much as I love vintage everything, especially old vintage GMT and stuff, it's so spooky, like, changed hands, reloomed hands, different face. Is this really a red sub, or is it a fake red sub? There's so many evil people out there, you know what I mean? Changing out all everything.
Yeah.
So really, at the end of the day, what we want is a vintage watch, but new.
Right. And so, in 2007, I would say the brand globally went through a repositioning, and they brought in a new creative director, and they basically said, well, what do we need to do to not repeat what's been done in the past, to get outside the stigma of
from the '96 relaunch,
poor man's Rolex, right?
Right. I got it.
How do we get out from under that? And so we have to tell the legitimate history, the story of Tudor as a brand, independent of our big brother. And so the way we did that was through these super iconic vintage watches that we had starting all the way back to 1954 with the first Submariner, the Tudor Submariner. And so we kind of took a lot of those iconic vintage pieces and pulled them all together and released and created what is now the Heritage Collection. First one in 2010 was the Heritage Chrono. We had the Advisor, which came after that in 2011. 2012, we had the Black Bay, which is the Submariner.
Killing it with that, with the gilt dial, red bezel.
Exactly.
Yeah, right there. Look at it, man. He's got just a tray of watches here, and I'm just like, oh my god. Now, gilt dial. If anybody knows anything about the '60s Rolexes and Tudors, the gilt dial is just so great. The quality of this watch too. A lot of people hit me up. What should I start with? And sure, you could get a sub for about $4,800, a used sub from the '90s. There's a million of them out there, but I would go brand new Tudor with in-house movement and wear that watch till you die, and get your own patina and your own dents and all that, and it's just a phenomenal. These pieces are knocking me out. And whoever is doing your you're advising on like the watches, like I feel like Rolex looks at you guys and goes, let's put these out and see how hot they are, including this new black one, the monochrome black sub, and all of a sudden Rolex puts out the Daytona Panda.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which is what everybody's wanted for 25, 30 years now.
Yeah, it's true. Historically, Hans Wilsdorf used Tudor as kind of a testing ground. He tried things out on us, whether it was, the depth of a Tudor Submariner versus the depth of a Rolex Submariner, and then once perfected it, and then he passed it on to Rolex. We were definitely used as a testing ground early on. But I think it's an interesting point you make about, taking your money and investing in a new Tudor versus a vintage piece. And it's not to say vintage is great if you know what you're doing, or if you buy from a reputable source, somebody that's completely transparent, like Hodinkee now that they're selling, which is a website that now that they're selling vintage watches online, they do it by being very transparent and telling you exactly what you're getting. With us, we wanted to create that same feel, that vintage feel, in a new watch. And so by choice, we used in the Black Bay and the Heritage Collection, aluminum bezels, aluminum bezel insert. Of course, we have the technology and the ability to do a ceramic bezel like in the Pelagos that you have,
right?
Which is not going to change over time at all.
Yeah.
The aluminum alloy bezels that we use in the Black Bay collection, for instance, they're going to change over time.
They're going to fade.
Patina. They're going to fade, and they're going to develop their own character. It's future vintage, if you will. That's
an interesting thing that you say, because it's of course I love the new Rolexes, but yeah, it's gotten away from the tool watch of the 5 that I love, the Sub, the Daytona, and all that, and the GMT, and the new one now. It's so worried about people. It's a lot like leather jackets, where they put like this sheen on it now, where it'll never age.
Yeah.
So, it's this world that wants their stuff to look new forever, which is quite strange, right?
Yeah.
Because they love vintage, but they want their stuff to look new. So, these Rolexes, which I love and everything, the bezels are never gonna, who knows? They say they stay forever. Maybe 20 years from now, we don't know. Maybe they do look weird. I don't know. But as of now, though, I think they're just going to look shiny and new.
Yeah, they're new. They're new. And of course, watches are going to age over time. The steel is a different alloy of steel that's used in a Rolex versus a Tudor. So it's a harder steel. It's a very resilient steel. So you're right. That watch is going to stay looking very new for a very long time.
Yeah.
Which is great. I think that's something that to a lot of people, certainly Rolex is the number one watch brand in the world.
That's my favorite.
That's what everybody wants, right?
There's all kinds of like other brands that, that people are like, yeah, well, this and that. But Rolex, to me, really is, it just is the best. The designs, everything about them,
the history, the longevity, the consistency,
classic, the way they fit, everything about them,
and the service.
Yeah. It's crazy that that they're. You look at how cheap they were back in the day, and that was expensive then, to where they are now.
Yeah.
Now, how do you get involved with Tudor? And did you love watches, and did you work in watches all your life?
Yeah. I've been in the watch industry 15, 16 years.
And how'd you start?
So I started, it was just purely passion. I was purely in it for the watches. And
you were a watch collector freak?
I was a watch nut. I wasn't a collector just yet because I was too poor to be a collector. I had one nice watch.
Where'd you grow up? New York?
No, I was born in Louisiana.
Wow.
I was born in northern Louisiana, grew up in Arkansas, and kind of that first little spark of interest in watches for me was I would go to my grandmother's house at Christmas, Thanksgiving, holidays, and she had a pocket watch that was her father's. And it was an old Elgin, not something incredibly expensive today. You can buy them vintage pretty easily. But she had it underneath a little acrylic dome. It was glass dome hanging on a thing. And every time we went there, my dad would take the watch out, and he would wind it, open it, show me the movement, wind it up, show me the escapement moving and beating and running, and then put it back, put the glass back over it, and that was it. And this is the only time that it got wound was when we visited, and my dad was there. So it taught me from a very early age a sort of reverence for watches and watchmaking, because it was this thing that was literally high on a mantle above my head. I couldn't reach it. And it was treated with extreme respect. So
Wow.
I carried that on, through life, and I never had, terribly nice watches. through my teenage years. College
What were you
years.
rocking, a Swatch or something?
I went through the swatches.
Yeah,
we all did the swatches, right? Yep.
I had the jellyfish.
I had the jellyfish.
Yeah.
Had a few. You got to wear a couple on one.
Yeah, I wore two. Yeah, I got a photo of me wearing two. People always trip it. It's me and like Slash from Guns N' Roses, and I'm holding up a Budweiser, so you know it's 80s.
Yeah.
And people are like, "Whoa, you're wearing two Swatches." It's like, yeah, man, London time.
You were on it. You were with the trend.
Yeah,
But
man.
I had my two swatches, and then I had a Seiko diver at one point.
Those are
when I was
still
younger,
cool.
Which is still a great watch.
Yeah,
It's
people
great,
love those.
Great watch. And then as I got a little older and started, finding more and more interest, I was in the cycling industry. I worked in marketing for bicycle manufacturers.
Oh, wow.
I was a big cyclist, and there was this history of cyclists. Back in the day, 80s, 90s. We didn't have smartwatches or any of that crap back then. So these guys were rocking like gold Tag Heuers when they're like racing. In
No shit, huh?
Yeah,
Did you get into that movie Breaking Away?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
man, how great is that guy from Bad News Bears? He was one of the guys in
Yep.
that Kelly Leak.
Yep.
That guy's breaking. So cycling guys are just out there rocking like
We're rocking
gold Tag Heuer.
gold watches, Rolexes, you name it. And so you see this, and I remember when I was in the cycling industry, I worked for this company in Chattanooga, Tennessee called Lightspeed Titanium, handmade titanium bike.
Oh, that's cool.
And they had a testimonial, an ambassador that worked with us called Bob Roll. You would love him. Bob Roll, Bubka was the man. He was like a rebel in the pro cycling world. And he would tell me these stories about when he got his first little bit of prize money in Europe, and he was racing for Motorola cycling team at the time. He's like, I got my first little piece of prize money, and I was in Switzerland, and I went and I got a Rolex. That's the first thing I had.
Yeah.
So you're thinking in your mind,
That's
it's
so
like,
cool.
I gotta get a watch. I gotta get
What
a
one
nice
did
watch.
he get?
Datejust,
Oh, yeah.
just like a Datejust.
Yeah.
Perfect. Steel and gold. Wore it, racing his bike all over Europe.
Yeah.
Rolex. And so pretty cool. I got a tag eventually, used quartz at one point. Started learning more and more about them, and I got an IWC Mark 12, which was much smaller than the versions that they have today. Had a Jaeger movement inside. Really cool little watch. And then I moved to Boston, working in Boston for a bicycle manufacturer there as a marketing director, and didn't know anybody. Moved up there from Chattanooga, Tennessee. He just, worked all week, and met this guy through cycling, bike ride, and he was a manager of a watch store. There in Harvard Square. He was into watches and bikes, and I was into watches and bikes, and so I went by on the weekend to this watch store. It happened to be a really big watch store at the time, and just looked at watches. I was that customer every watch retailer hates.
Wow.
I looked at everything,
Never
asked
bought?
him, never bought a damn
Oh,
thing.
man.
That was the ultimate tire kicker. And so-
Because you didn't have the money, or you just, to me, it's like, it's a lot like those bicycle people. As soon as I got just a little hair of money, even when I started buying Rolexes in the early 90s, you could get a sub for $3,800,
Yeah.
And that sounds like cheap now, but back then that was a lot of money. But I got it through Ben Bridge on a payment plan, and I was
exactly.
just like, all right, I got to watch, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, cycling, I was a marketing director of a cycling company, but it was the lifestyle industry doesn't pay. Pay
Did
that
you get
well.
into Bianchis at all? Like when I was
course,
growing
yeah.
up, that now I guess they're made in China or something, but that was the bike, right? The
Bianchi.
road bike was the Bianchi, that
Yep.
green.
Celeste green.
Oh
Bianchi,
man!
yeah.
And if you were a true like road racer, that's what you had.
You had to
Made in
have it.
Italy, right?
Yep.
Just what a bike.
Handmade.
Handmade,
Yeah,
a lot
handmade.
like that's why I love all that old stuff.
Yeah.
Even anything you could talk about, I'd be like, "What about Bianchi and the bike?" And that was something great in an industry that
Yeah.
was handmade. It lasts with you forever.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's what I was into the cycling companies, the bike companies that I work for, were all artisan handmade.
Yeah,
bikes.
Campanoli cranks.
Yeah, just
you
like-
remember that shit,
Oh,
and
stuff was so badass.
and like Philwood hubs,
Yeah.
all this stuff that was
Yeah.
just primo gear.
Handmade.
Handmade.
Stuff. And so some watches were the same for me. And so I started hanging out at this watch store. And finally one day, this friend of mine who was the manager of the store at the time said, you know more about this stuff than anybody that works here. Why don't you come work with us?
Right.
And I was like, I'm not ready to leave the bike industry. I like bikes and all that. So I did it on the weekends. So Monday through Friday, I was marketing director of a bicycle manufacturer, and Saturdays and Sundays I sold watches.
Just at a watch store?
Retail.
Did they have Rolex?
They had everything. They were a big store called Alpha Omega in Boston, and they had every Richemont brand, so all the IWCs and IWC, Languedon, Bon Mercier, Panerai, everything.
Yeah.
They had Rolex. Then they had all the Swatch Group brands. They had.
Now you ended up hating people like yourself. They come in there. Let me try this one. I just don't know. They tilt it in the light and stuff, and then they leave, and you're like, oh fuck.
Can
man.
I get a catalog? Can I get a catalog?
Yeah, they don't know you're working on commission. You're going crazy.
And
now, this is a great question I have for you, because I often thought, like, if I wasn't in the entertainment business, comedian, I would definitely be in the watch biz or some kind of clothing, high-end clothing biz, like denim or whatever. Did it make you burn out? Because I worked for Harley for a while. Did it burn you out? Like, I don't care about watches anymore.
It didn't. While I was in retail, when I was working in retail, I think it was interesting because you're still around a ton of different brands, and you're still, like, I was in it for a short period of time because I went in with the intention of going to the wholesale side or going to the other side of the counter, because while I was working there part-time, I saw pretty quickly, who was controlling everything in the industry. And the sales reps would come in and they would do their trainings, and they would take you to dinner and they'd buy you drinks. And
so you wanted to be a sales rep?
I wanted to be a sales rep. And so I said, okay, quickest way to do that is I got to learn. So then I decided to go full-time in the watch store, quit the bike industry, and I went full-time. And I gave myself like a 3-year time limit. Okay, I got 3 years. I want to be in wholesale. I want to be a rep within 3 years. It took me about 3.5 years. But I didn't burn out by any means, and I was still had a voracious appetite for all things watches. And was also gave me an opportunity to buy watches because you could get them on, personal use prices, etc. Or if customers would come in, the store that I worked for didn't do pre-owned, which is kind of a strange thing.
Yeah,
they didn't really take trades.
So you'd buy it on the side.
So the guy would ask me, "Hey, you trade this in?" I was like, "Well, we don't do that, but I'll buy it from you."
Yeah. Were you scoring some Rolexes?
Not Rolexes, but I got some pretty nice Panerais and IWCs and stuff.
Those
like
early
that.
Panerais, right? Like the first relaunch before they got into the second one. Those are worth some money now.
Yeah. I was dumb though. I sold them before they were worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
I had really nice first series stuff, and then, like you said, sometimes you need money.
Yeah, oh man, it's crazy, right? Like, I've owned some watches, and I often think about who has them now. You know what I mean? Just traveling around.
Exactly. Yeah. I wish I still had some of those, but then I made the jump to wholesale, and I went on the road for Blancpain, which is a Swatch Group brand, very high end.
Swatch Group?
Yeah.
Oh wow! So they sell all kinds of watches, right? They're kind of like that glasses company I saw on 60 Minutes. They basically sell every sunglasses there are. All the brands. It's one place in France or something that makes everything.
Well, you have Swatch Group that owns. It's a holding company that owns tons of watch brands. Not tons, 18, 20 different watch brands. Some
That's
very high end, some very low end.
What are the high end ones?
Breguet,
right?
Blancpain. Jacques Dro, Glacé Original, those are the highest ones. They own Omega. Omega's a Swatch Group brand.
Omega's killing it right now. To me, it's kind of like Omega and Tudor are these guys that are like, we're coming out and kicking some ass,
Yep. We definitely keep our eyes on Omega. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And then they own, of course, Swatch, and they own Calvin Klein watches and Mito and all these tons of little brands like that. But they also own Etta and Valjoux, and they own all those technical companies. So Swatch Group's a really impressive company. And I was working for Blancpain, which is a very high-end brand that was founded by Jean-Claude Biver, who's now in charge of Tag and Hublot and all that. So very cool experience. I was on the road. I had tons of accounts. I basically lived on the road 20 days a week.
Wow.
Or 20 days a month.
And where were you living?
Living in Boston then, but within 6 months I moved to New York.
Wow.
And so that's when I moved to New York.
So you're traveling around and you're showing shops the new brands or the new styles of the brand and everything, and saying, hey, you should stock our watches and everything?
Well, maintaining the distribution that we already had. So you're basically going in, checking up on them. Okay, you sold this since I was here last. Let's replace it. Try to get them to buy a little more, you know.
Yeah.
Then you deal with the in-case visuals and the whole experience of the brand within their store. And then you go on to the next one and you keep going. And so that was cool. I did that with that brand for little over 4 years, and then I went to work for Vacheron Constantin, which is another extremely high-end Swiss watch brand, oldest continuously running Swiss watch brand in the world.
Really? Older than Rolex?
Yeah, 1755.
Whoa.
Yeah, 1755.
Oh, man.
Yeah, there are some that are a little older, but they close their doors. Blancpain, the one I worked for before, is considered the oldest, 1735.
Wow.
But they closed their doors for several years.
Right.
And then reopened and continued. Vacheron, 1755, has never closed their doors.
That's incredible.
Pretty crazy.
Wow.
Pretty crazy. Again, all handmade stuff, both brands. And so that was the link for me between handmade bikes with big gears, handmade watches with a lot of little gears, you know. So, and then I did that for 6 years, a little over 6 years with Vacheron, and Rolex called me up.
They call you up, and and you start at Rolex before Tudor? Or?
No, I was hired specifically to relaunch Tudor in the U.S.
They kept it a secret.
Yeah,
that's an amazing thing. I don't know how they do it in the world of the internet, and there must be no low-end people at Rolex. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or disgruntles or anything. Because I don't know if you have to sign like all this like top secret stuff, but even in Harley Davidson, leaks happen now.
Right.
And man, you do not know one thing coming out until Baselworld. It's unbelievable. And I think that's one of the key things to the mystique of it.
Yeah.
It's one of the last things in the world that you're like, I got to get up at 2 a.m. I got to see what they're launching over there. Yeah. And then it comes out and people are just blown away. And as soon as it comes out, they start doing Baselworld rumors for next year on the Rolex forum, you know?
Yeah. No, it's true. I think it's, we work really hard on it. It takes a long time to develop products, first of all. Years. I mean, and you're right. One here at this company particularly, it's a great company to work for. So we don't have a lot of people coming and going.
Yeah.
Yes, we do sign a lot of stuff, so we can't talk about it.
Yeah.
It's funny when you leave this building, turn around and take a look at it. It's a big black box. It's like the black box.
I love it. I love it. I didn't even know I was coming to this building today. Yeah. I just thought I was coming to your office, and then I go, oh fuck, he's in the Rolex building, and then I go up 5 floors and it opens up and I'm in this service center that's straight up like it's like this culty vibe in there with this incredible monster book that Toshins or somebody would put out.
Yep.
That's the movements and pictures of all this. I was like, this is heaven in
by
here.
monster, it's literally huge. It's
it's huge.
4 feet by 3 feet or something.
It is. I mean, I would want that in my house.
Yeah,
it's one of those cool things.
It's awesome. So
when you first start here, and you have do you have a secret meeting? Do they say, look, we're going to be launching some stuff, and here's what we have an idea? Or do you get to put in ideas like, I think you guys ought to relaunch the Black Bay?
No, when I started, the Black Bay was already out in 2012. The product strategy is put in place by our headquarters in Geneva. And so when they came to me in 2012 with the opportunity, of course, they had to tell me what it was,
right?
Because they wanted to gauge my interest and see if I had what it took, And so they told me what it was, and so then once I took the job and I came in, talk about an intimidating first day on the job, walking into this building. Walked past 1,000 times in New York City when you're in the watch industry, but I'd never been inside. So I came inside. And it was my first day. It was a blank piece of paper, no telephone number, no stationery, nothing. I was, like I said before, I was in an old Rolex conference room that wasn't used. It was my office. And they were basically like, go. and so with the goal of launching by fall of 2013. And so you have to start by, building a marketing communications plan, building a distribution strategy, building the distribution, visual merchandising, what's it going to look like in the store. And a lot of the guidelines are handed down to us from Geneva, but we had to develop our strategy here. And so it's, of course, there's a lot of expertise in this building. It wasn't just me sitting in a room.
Yeah.
Figuring it out.
Yeah, you got so much history, right?
A lot of help for sure. But
what was the original idea? Let's get them on some celebrities, or
Well, that was. When I came in, I found out pretty quickly that we had a huge fan base already out there.
Totally.
And I think that's the thing that for me as a as a watch geek myself, coming in, I was so excited about the potential that Tudor had. That's the reason I took the job. I knew its history. I knew what the potential it could have in this country, so it was an awesome opportunity. And then I also knew that there were a ton of people that all these vintage aficionados and real collectors out there, those are the people that kept the brand alive while we weren't in the country.
Totally.
And so reaching out to them and just really like picking their brains and talking to them, et cetera, was the first step. Talk to the guys that love your stuff the most first, and then we'll figure it out. And so quickly thereafter, we started realizing some of those people actually happened to be pretty influential people,
Yeah, right?
Pretty influential people. So
you're like, wait a minute, Wes Anderson, he wears Tudor, whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I really think what you have going for you is there's younger people that are like, this is my era of watch. This is my hip. Yeah, Rolex, that's your dad's stuff or whatever. But this is the hip shit right here.
Exactly.
You're going to see this in Williamsburg. You're going to see this in Silver Lake. You're going to see, you know what I mean?
Someone, a journalist, said to me one time, they call Tudor the creative job getter. It's like if you go into an interview at a creative agency with Tudor on your wrist, you're gonna get the job.
Yeah,
There's no guarantees. I can't guarantee that.
Yeah, but people do look at what's they do look at your watch. And another thing, if you're going to buy a new motorcycle or car, put it in your pocket, because then they think the average guy will be like, "That's a Rolex." They don't really, they just look and they think it's a Rolex, and then they're not going to give you a deal. So you got to put that in your pocket.
Smart. Good advice. Good advice. Good advice.
Now, when they first launch, because I don't really get on board till the Black Bay comes around, is it a slow launch because the Black Bay's not out yet?
Well, we launched in September 2013, so the Black Bay was out. So we launched with, the products we launched with were essentially Black Bay Red,
right?
The Heritage Chrono Blue, the Monte Carlo,
blue
and orange.
So good.
Such
that
a great
one killed. Oh yeah, you guys do. I forgot. You did launch with just the killers.
We launched with everything here in the U.S. for the most part, and the Pelagos came out in 2012 as well. So we were launching with Pelagos, with Black Bay, with Heritage Chrono Blue, Advisor. I mean, we had the whole Heritage.
All at a movement at the time.
All at a movement.
Now, when you come in, do they tell you secretly, we're launching with the ETA, but we're going to make our own movement? We've been working on it. How does that work?
No, I didn't know at the time.
Wow.
I didn't know at the time. I mean, we definitely know the proficiencies there within the company, but no, we didn't know at the time. It was a while before I knew.
And how do you find out? They're like, hey, come in and check this out. And you're like, wow.
No, it's contrary to popular belief. I think people think we know. Think that I know the future of the brand for the next 10 years, or think I know, every product that's coming.
That's how it was with Harley. Yeah. I would be selling a Harley, and it's August 10th, and then on the 12th they come out with a new motor, and these guys that bought them on the 10th come in, and they're like, "Man, you knew," and it's like, "You think I know?" I mean, they're not going to let people like that know to be all over Instagram and the internet and everything,
So they keep everything pretty tight-lipped in Geneva. And we find out all the new products typically a few days before Basel. So we go to Geneva before Basel for our pre-Basel meetings, and they show us everything. And then we have a couple of days to basically memorize everything, and off we go. Then we hit Basel, and we go for it.
What's Basel like? It's got to be like pretty exciting, you know? I mean, there's a ton of just watch goons there,
Yeah.
and there's some burnouts and everything. But in general, your first one had to be like, oh my God, I'm going to see the new stuff.
Oh, it's intense. It's intense. I mean, I did Basel Fair with Blancpain as well, and I did SIHH, which is the counterpart to Basel, which is in Geneva, and I've done that. So I had experience with the shows. For sure, and they're intense. They're really intense. A lot of people, but from the brand side, it's like running on a treadmill. You're in the same place, the same time, same office, same desk, same watches, and people rotate in every 30 minutes,
Just
and you
Groundhog's Day.
and you go for it.
Hey, welcome in. This is our new Black Bay. It's got an in-house movement. Then the next guy's, this is a Black Bay. After a while, you're like, yeah, get me out of here.
Exactly.
I get it. It's like NAMM show I go to every year with the new music instruments, you know?
Yep.
It's like a huge thing. But after the second day, you're like, I got to get out of here, man.
I gotta go. But it's, Basel's like 7 days.
7 days.
7 days. And we're there. Because the demand is huge. In the first year that we did Basel, which is March 2013, before the launch, we had so much demand to see the product in person, to talk about, jewelers wanting to carry the line, that I had every single slot on my agenda booked. Back to back, no breaks, zero breaks from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m.
Wow.
And then every other day, I had so much demand that I did group sessions. So we have a media room where they do the media presentations that hold 40 people.
Yeah.
Every other day, I'd have a group at the end of the day, 6 o'clock. So I'd finish my meetings all day, and then I'd go in to a group presentation and give a PowerPoint and answer questions. Sorry, I don't have time to meet with each one of you individually, and blah, 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 blah. So you're really running on a combination of adrenaline, excitement, espresso, Diet Coke. But it's the only time for me that you can go out, like I can go, you can get up at 7 a.m. and you're on the booth by 8 a.m. You usually finish by 1 or 2 a.m. And you do that every day for 7. You do that every day for 7 days, and then you fly back. And
you don't have any time to go look at other people's product.
No,
that sucks, right?
I did before when I was at other brands, but I've just the demand with Tudor has been so insane that, and now I have a sales team, and I have a big team that I've built, so I get a little more time now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't get to see a lot of the product.
Let's get a little bit into size. There was, I would say, a good 6 years ago, Panerai was killing it with the big 48 millimeters and everything. And a lot of people, I think, are kind of steering away from the big watch now. That craze is kind of over. Do you really believe that, I believe this, that the 40 millimeter is the ultimate size?
Yeah, I think from 40-42... it's about that's where things seem to be settling out. Yeah. Definitely. I mean, it went crazy. I mean, Panerai at 44, when they started out with the Luminor Marina at 44 millimeters, they kind of opened everyone's eyes to the potential of a big watch, and
right, like Stallone and Schwarzenegger are wearing these big old, like that big green 60 millimeter one they made, the Monarch, or I forget what it's called, the flat one, the green band, and all these big watches. I had a 48 millimeter, and the problem I have is they don't fit under jackets or anything. Right. So all of a sudden you're okay, I'm going to wear this. Oh, but I'm wearing this jacket. I can't. And then you never get to wear your watch. It's maybe a month in the summer. Exactly.
So, yeah, I think it definitely caught on, but I think it was always a different customer. And I think that's what's really interesting about that craze, and is that it kind of opened the world of handmade watches, Swiss watches, or big watches in general. It opened the world or the eyes of a different customer. These people they wanted a bigger watch. They wanted something a little more flashy or a little more with a little more presence. And you still had people that preferred 40 millimeter, 38 millimeter, 36 millimeter.
Wow, 36, that's crazy. It's really funny, too, because a watch I wore for a good 10 years was the 36 millimeter Explorer.
Exactly.
You know? And now I put it on, I go, oh, this is way too small.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm still 5'6", and same guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
why is it way too small now? And I think it's mostly because, you know, once you get a 40 millimeter on, everything feels too small and other things feel too big.
Yeah, you're right. You know, you settle in the middle there. But as we've seen, you know, that the popularity of vintage come back around, we're starting to see more and more people showing an interest in thin watches and small watches. I mean, I think smaller watches, you know. For instance, this year we came out with the Black Bay 36, which is
Wow, that's an Explorer. I got it in my hand. It's basically like an Explorer one body.
Yep.
Wow, now this, to me, I think one of the coolest things, I used to DJ kind of parties and stuff like that in Hollywood. And I love when I see a woman wearing a stainless steel bigger watch.
Yep.
Like I remember I saw Cameron Diaz. She's rocking a Daytona, white face, you know, and you're just like, and like Drew Barrymore, people like that, like really, it's really hip to me to see a woman wearing a stainless steel bigger watch, you know?
Yeah.
Like if I saw a woman wearing a Black Bay, I'd be like, well, that girl is on, you know?
Yeah. Hey, keep your eyes off my wife then.
Oh, is she rocking Black Bay? Wow, that is so cool. But you know what I mean? When you see a woman wearing a man's sport watch, it is badass.
Absolutely, and a lot of women buy Black Bays, and I think it's interesting. We don't have any way of really quantifying it because we base our gender split on watch purchases by the model. You know, if it's a ladies model or a men's model, we have no way of really tracking how many women are wearing Black Bays out there. But I tell you, I've seen more than a few. It's pretty cool. It's really cool to see. But yeah, so I think that smaller watches still have a place. But I think you're right. Things are settling out at, between 40, 42. The Black Bay is 41.
41. Black Bay is 41.
It's 41.
And then let's talk about the bronze one. 42?
Yeah. So the bronze just came out this year. It's the biggest watch we make. 43.
43. I love this watch.
Yeah.
Now, let's tell people about it. It's basically, now this one looks patinaed.
Yep.
And I remember when I was young, growing up, they built a library in my town. It was like $1 million library, and they put brass roof on it. And after a year, it looked like an old penny.
Yep.
And people were like, "It's ugly," and I was like, "No way! Look at that patina, the turquoise on that." And it blew my mind. And when this watch came out, immediately I was like, "Wow!" And look now. It changes. You guys can see it online. It's bronze. But the back is coated so it doesn't stain your arm, right?
Yeah, well, essentially the back is stainless steel. So that's a stainless steel case back. It's PVD coated to look like bronze, the color of a bronze. But the reason for that is it would seize up. If you had a bronze case back threaded into a bronze
it would seize up.
case,
Oh, you wouldn't be able to screw it off.
You wouldn't be able to open it.
Wow.
It's the same with your Pelagos, for instance. It's a stainless steel case back. Because titanium threaded into titanium, it doesn't like each other. So you have to.
This is a primo fucking watch.
It's good.
Also, I wanted to tell people, besides how great they look, the quality of these watches really feels like a $6,000 watch.
Yeah.
You know, and why does your glow lasts so long and great? Like the new Rolex glow, they say the blue chronomatic, they say it lasts a long time, but these watches, they look like indiglows almost, man.
Especially your Pelagos.
Oh my God! You come out of a movie, or you go into a movie theater, and the thing is lit up, and the bezel's lit up. Everything about it.
Yeah, don't leave it on your nightstand; it'll keep you awake at night.
It's
for
great.
Sure. It's
though.
bright. It's bright. Yeah, it's proprietary information.
Yeah. I got it. But boy, does it work! It's so good, man. Now let's talk a little bit about the new movement. Where is it made? Is it made at the Rolex factory?
It's not. We have it's developed separately, designed separately. We started working on the development of the in-house movement in 2010. We have our own manufacturing facility in Bienne, outside the Rolex manufacturer, and the movements are made by Tudor employees.
Employees.
It's always key. It's made by Tudor employees. We make one of the ways that we're able to keep the cost down on our watches in general is, to give you an idea, Rolex makes everything, every single part in-house, right down to making their own. We have our own gold foundry. Everything is made in-house.
Your own gold.
Yeah, and our own alloys of steel, etc. Now, Tudor, we use a supplier-based manufacturing system where we use 100% Swiss-made suppliers around Geneva. We believe ardently in the Swiss watchmaking industry and that heritage and history around it. And so we support it 100%. Every single thing we make is made in Switzerland.
That's sick.
And so it's awesome. I mean, it's really great. But
so what are we talking about? We're talking about
cases.
Like metals. The cases aren't made at Rolex anymore?
No. And so that's how we can create.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
the cases are no longer made at Rolex. They're made in Switzerland from somebody else.
Yeah. A few key parts that we make in-house for sure. Of course, the new movement we make in-house entirely. But the cases, bracelets, straps, deployment buckles, ETA movement is a purchased movement, hands, dials, everything's made outside. All close to Geneva, so we can monitor it. Yeah. We're held to the same very strict quality control standards that Rolex is held to. All these parts, cases, bracelets, etc., they come back to our assembly facility in Geneva, Tudor assembly facility in Geneva, where we assemble everything, again, to the same exacting standards that Rolex is held to. And then the watches are tested in the same way. They're quality controlled and tested in the same way that Rolexes are. So we can keep the price down by using suppliers. But the in-house movement it was a different animal for sure. We knew that for us, the strength of Tudor is the fact that we are a price category from $2,000 to $5,000 max. We're not. That's where we live, and our bestseller is the Black Bay that starts at $3,100.
That thing's got to be flying out of there.
And it's bestseller for sure, and we want to keep it that way. And so people always ask, well, how did you come out with an in-house movement that only raised the price of the watch $275?
Yeah. That was the big question on the forums.
So everybody's like, how did they do it? It's like, you know what? We did it because that was our intent from the beginning. We designed the movement with the intention of how can we design this movement to give the best possible performance and functionality, but keep the price down. And so when you start, again, with a blank sheet of paper and develop an idea around with that goal in mind, then you can achieve it. And then also, we didn't take it as an opportunity to kind of gouge people for a big price tag.
That's genius. Genius.
We wanted to keep our price there. So a lot of brands develop the movement, and then after the fact, we're like, well, what's it worth? For us, it's like, well, this is what it costs.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What and then of course I love the rivet bracelet, like the old school. Yeah. So you got the rivet bracelet on the Black Bay. Now also, if you get into these Black Bays, people, and the Pelagos, they come with 2-3 different straps too, which is incredible. So now you just came out with this red one, that comes with the Black Bay with the red bezel, and then you can get like aged leather ones or the rubber bands. Yeah. Now let's talk about the new black one. You got an all black, which is very hot in the gray market, where everyone was taking these Rolexes, like let's say Bamford, the brand, or any of these side companies, and they make the Rolexes all black. Now, does this come off at all?
It will. Yeah,
it will.
It will over time. It's a PVD coating. The material is called titanium carbide. That's adhered to the stainless steel case by a process called PVD. So over time, yes, the corners, etc., you can wear off. And
Right.
again, it's like the bronze. Like the bronze piece is going to take on the personal characteristics of the person that's wearing it. So is the PVD watch. And anybody who buys the Black Bay Dark, which is the all-black PVD version, or the bronze, they know what they're getting into. They know it's going to change.
I'd like to see one of those old black ones in a couple of years. It's going to be spotted and worn down and shit.
The corners,
yeah.
and little things. You put your hand in your pocket or your jacket or whatever it is. It's going to take on, again, a bit of a life of its own and create that kind of future vintage vibe.
It's funny because that's what people do to their Rolexes now for the last couple of years, and I'm always iffy on that because I think that voids your warranty right away.
Exactly.
And then this one comes black. Now, what's the warranty on these? Are they 3 or 5 years?
It's 2 years.
2 years?
So 2 years warranty out of the box. And then when you send it, it's like anything mechanical, you're going to have it serviced at some point.
Is it every 5 or 10 like Rolex now?
It's 5 to 7 years, 3 to 5 years when you notice a change. And that's really what it boils down to.
In the holding time.
Yeah, the functionality of the watch. I personally adhere to the if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, me too.
So I wear it until it's a considerable change. The only time I've had to have one of my Tudors repaired was when my 3-year-old hucked it across the room.
Oh, man. Oh,
it's a Heritage Chrono. It was a Tudor Heritage Chrono, and she picked it up off the nightstand and gave it a launch. And so, but it other than that, I brought it in, I had it fixed, no problem. But yeah, 2-year warranty. Then once you send it back in for that first service, and you have your overhaul done, you get a 1-year warranty after that as well.
There was a limited one of these Black Bays made, right? Was there one like for another company or something, or am I crazy?
You might be crazy.
Yeah, I thought they made like a blackface one, like 50 of them or something. I don't know. I must be out of my mind.
No.
Yeah, because
not that I know of.
Like, what's your favorite one in there? The Black Bay?
I mean, I'm wearing a Black Bay Black right now.
Yeah.
I really like the Black Bay.
It's so good.
I have a Ranger. I mean, a Ranger's a cool watch. Simple, 3-hands watch, time, hours, minutes, seconds. Thinner, but still 41 millimeter. Super great watch. I'm digging big time. This year we came out with the Advisor, which is a mechanical alarm watch.
Oh, wow.
That
hand wound?
No, it's automatic. But then it has a second mainspring for the mechanical alarm. And we came out with that watch originally in 1957.
Wow, it has an alarm on it?
Has an alarm.
Wow.
I wish I had mine here to show you. Because
That's
it's really
crazy.
Cool. Yeah, it has a mechanical alarm.
And what kind of sound on it?
It kind of sounds like it's got a little bit of a chime, but it sounds kind of like an electric shaver. Bzzz, it's like a buzz.
That is cool as shit.
It's really cool. And you've got, it's a titanium case, but a polished titanium case. So
wow.
It looks
it's different than the Pelagos.
Yeah, it looks super elegant, and it's on a crocodile strap. And the one we came out with this year has a brown dial and a brown strap. And I've been loving that thing too. So the Advisor's a great one. It's still an ETA-based caliber, but the alarm module that we affix to the ETA base is the in-house alarm module.
Which ones have the in-house movement now? The Black Bays and the Pelagos, that's it?
So you've got Black Bay, Pelagos, and the North Flag. North Flag was the first one we launched, the in-house movement, the same year as the Pelagos. So, but they all share all those movements. So all the Black Bays, the blue, the red, and the Black Bay Bronze, the Black Bay Dark, all in-house movements.
Right.
Pelagos now in the blue and the black, in-house movements, and then the North Flag. They all have 70-hour power reserve. They
all have 70?
70-hour, and all have silicone hairsprings, anti-magnetic.
Wow, like the blue hairspring?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's not the blue one, but it's
right.
But it's synthetic, and it's made out of silicone, so it gives you some anti-magnetism.
I know you're busy. I'll get out of your hair. I can't thank you enough for having me down here. I've been hunting you down for a while. And you have a great Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Tell them what it is because you travel all over.
My Instagram is at RSLKLY.
It's funny when you email me, it's R. Kelly.
Yeah.
I'm always like, oh,
The real R. Kelly.
R. Kelly's emailing me.
That's right. The R. Kelly. That's right.
You like fashion? Are you a denim guy and shit?
I'm a huge denim guy.
Yeah. You ever go to Self Edge over there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, those are my boys, man.
They're good guys. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Kia,
Andrews,
he's a huge watch guy, the owner, Kia.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, no, I'm a big denim guy. I'm a big, I have to wear suits to work every day. But
do you have to wear a suit?
Gotta wear a suit. Yeah,
Damn it!
Gotta wear a suit. So, but yeah, fun stuff. Really fun stuff.
Yeah. And you live in New York?
I lived in Manhattan for a long, long time, but now I live in Westchester County. But yeah, I live outside the city, take the train every day, and yeah, here we are.
I can't thank you enough, man.
Hey, Dean, thanks a lot, man.
And then check out their website. What is it, tudor.com?
TudorWatch.com.
And go see these watches in the stores and get yourself one. I can't tell you how many emails I've gotten over the last year. What should I get? I tell them get a Tudor. It's the brand is hitting a home run, and it's great to have you on here, man. And I love what you guys are doing.
Hey, thanks so much for all your support.
Thank you, man.